CSU San Marcos, and she will be presenting tonight. Denise, it's all yours.
Hi, I just wanted to say a quick thank you to all of the families and who's come to join us tonight for Financial Aid Night. Just pretty much repeating again, I know everyone is really busy and it's some crazy times right now, so we really appreciate your time. Just a little bit about myself. I've been working for Cal State San Marcos for 7 years. I graduated from Cal State San Marcos in 2005, so I'm an alumni. I really love this institution. I had gone to a previous one before, which was in San Bernardino, because I was born and raised in Riverside. So I went to Cal State San Bernardino, but I got to say that Cal State San Marcos, which was much more welcoming, and I got a lot more one-on-one attention from professors when I needed help. So they're a great school. And we have an amazing financial aid office. We are always happy to help anyone in even if you're not attending and you have questions too, we welcome them to email or call us or for anything, and we can help you walk through the process. So I'll go ahead and start. So the first, oh my goodness, what happened? There we go, applications. So there are a couple of different applications. There's the free application for federal student aid. The website is their studentaid.gov. And then there's also the CADA application, the California Dream Act. And the website you would go to complete an application for that. And then we always want to make sure that every student is looking into scholarship applications. Every institution is going to have their own scholarship. So for Cal State San Marcos, we have our own general scholarship application that just opened up on October 1st. So you can start already completing those, and you don't have to be committed to the school to start that. So FAFSA and CADA applications already opened up too. It's kind of crazy because we're just finished, you know, a lot of people just finished applications for maybe some of their students that are already in college, and now they're doing another one just like a couple months after the semester of fall has started. So it's kind of quick. So October 1st is the date that it opens, and we want to say try to complete it as soon as you can, because there are certain scholarships that are that we have like a budget, so they run out quickly. So as the people who complete their applications earlier are the ones who, if they are eligible, are more likely to receive it before we run out of that budget. Again, our scholarship application opened up February 1st, and you can find that on our financial aid webpage at Cal State San Marcos. Private scholarships, they have their own deadlines, but definitely are worth the research. I seriously had a student at a previous institution that I worked at a long time ago, and they applied for a scholarship that didn't even apply to them. The requirements were that they be either they had to be female and they had to be Catholic, but because this student who applied for it was the only one who applied, was a male, and he wasn't Catholic, but they gave it to him because he was the only one who applied, so he got $19,000 because they had to give that scholarship out. So it is a really good idea to spend time looking at as many scholarships and applying as much as you can, because you never know when you might get that big check. Verification. So the Department of Education, they will actually tag students randomly for verification. So it's usually about 30% of the population and people who file that get selected for verification. So some of the things they're going to ask you about are things like your tax information, household size, citizenship for FAFSA filers. And they do have one really great tool. It's called the IRS Data Retrieval Tool. that you can use as well. It makes life so much easier than having to look at each individual line and figure out what line do I put adjusted gross income on, or tax, or your taxes on. All of that stuff automatically transfers from the IRS into your FAFSA for you. So it's a really great tool to use. Communications. We strongly encourage students, please check your email for any updates from the financial aid office. That is our main source of communication. So if we're missing anything, or we're sending updates to say, hey, you're getting close to the deadline of when you need to complete your, say, your scholarship applications by, or you're getting close to the March 2nd deadline, which is the deadline for Cal Grants. They expect the Cal Grant, FAFSA to be completed before March 2nd to be considered for a Cal Grant. So make sure you're always checking your emails. So there's different types of financial aid. So they're under grants. The federal grants are Pell Grant, Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. And then there's state grants, which is the Cal Grant we were just talking about. And then they have the Middle Class Scholarship. And there's different types of scholarships that are offered. So like I was saying, we have our CSUSM General Scholarship application. And most colleges are going to have their own as well. So anywhere you apply, you just want to check with them to see what scholarships that they offer there at their school in particular. And then there's private scholarships, like just like the one I was just telling you that one of my students had qualified for, which is an outside scholarship. And they just did a bunch of research. Main thing you want to look for is don't apply for a scholarship where they're asking you to pay any money towards. That's usually a kind of a red flag. It could be a scam. So you kind of just want to make sure you're looking for those types of things. And there's different types of federal loans out there that you're eligible for, and then there's non-federal loans. So federal student loans will be things like the federal subsidized loan, which is an interest-free loan while you're enrolled in at least half-time or more units. It doesn't start accruing interest until after you separate from school, drop below half-time status, or graduate. The unsubsidized loan, the interest begins accruing upon disbursement. And then there's private loans. So what I always say, as a last resort, if you think your financial aid package isn't large enough to cover, say, housing plus your tuition, your fees, books, and all those other things, and you still need additional funding, and you're not getting enough funding through the subsidized, unsubsidized, and then there's also, the Federal Parent Plus loan, if you're interested in completing one of those for your students. Then we would say go to private loans, but it's a very, very last resort kind of thing. And then this is more information about our general application scholarship. So it's opened October 1st. It'll close on February 1st. So it's one application for a variety of different scholarships, which is great because then you're not having to, write a million different essays for all these different scholarships. And it'll go out to all donors that look like they apply to whatever your information that you placed on your application is. So that's a really great tool and way of getting free money. These are a list of free scholarship services. So these are just some websites that we know are 100% legitimate. That's FastWeb, College Board, MELDEV, FINAID.org, and the SDFoundation.org. They're great resources to start with when you begin looking for different kinds of scholarships. So I highly suggest, checking out these web pages and completing an application and submitting essays for them as well. Federal student loans. So repayment begins after you cease enrollment or attend below half-time or graduate. So you can find additional information on the Department of Ed's website, and they've listed the web link there, so you can check that out. And on there, they actually have like a loan calculator. So it'll also actually show you different loan repayment, options too. So you can see what all your options are going to be later if you decide to use federal student loans. The really good news is interest rates dropped significantly. So student loans right now, the subsidized and unsubsidized loans right now are 2.75%. That's actually the lowest I've ever seen them. And that's both for the subsidized and unsubsidized loans. So they have the same interest rate and they're fixed for the life of the loan. So budgeting, we are always talking to our students about really make sure you're budgeting your college costs. So take in mind your tuition and fees are paid for by your financial aid. Other expenses that are not automatically deducted from your financial aid. You want to think about what expenses you're looking at. So outside of tuition and fees, you have books. I know right now everything's online, but once things go back to campus, you have to think about, parking, living expenses. Are you going to live on or off campus? Things like that are all crucial to consider while you're looking at budgeting for college costs. So here's kind of a couple of examples about budgeting college costs. So we're looking at student A. So student A, their tuition and fees is $3,856. And let's say they're eligible for the State University grant, which pays full-time tuition for one term is $2,871. And then they're eligible for, let's see, a Pell Grant of $2,960. So we're looking at about $1,975 that's going to be refunded to your student to help them use towards any of their educational things like books and parking, expenses like living expenses, housing, things like that. And then another example is student B. So tuition and fees, again, $3,856 for one semester. Let's say they're eligible for the State University grant of $2,871. Their subsidized loan after the origination fees are removed, the net amount $3,463, and then their unsubsidized loan $2,721. They're looking at a refund of around $5,199, and then they can kind of figure out their budget a little bit better on how they're going to allocate those that extra money towards other things. So students must enroll in direct deposit in order to receive an electronic refund. It's really easy. Once the student has their login, they can go into their student center, click on the link that says enroll in direct deposit, follow the instructions, and within 24 hours it's activated. So that makes getting a refund a lot faster, as opposed to regular mail can sometimes take up to 2 weeks. So we want to get them the money as quickly as possible. So these are kind of more of a breakdown of budgeting college costs. So we're looking at what expenses could be. It may not be this much, but what we're looking at what it could potentially be, depending on what program they're taking. So living with family, let's say the books cost $2,000 for the year. Room and board is $5,418. Transportation, let's say they're commuting, $1,568. Personal expenses, $1,480. And then let's say they're taking out loans, because the Department of Ed does charge a loan origination fee. So let's say it's $78. So the total cost would be $12,504 if they're living at home or with family. Living off campus or on campus, books would be about the same amount. Room and board, obviously, it drastically goes up if they're living on campus or off campus. It could be potentially $15,150 depending on where they live. Transportation, $1,250. personal expenses, $1,480, and then if they take out their student loans, the $78. So you're looking at $21,918 if they're living on or off campus. So it's just kind of an idea now that you would know, well, what could their potential refund be, and then how are you going to allocate it towards these other costs that you may be spending on. That way you can budget the best you can for school before you begin.
Denise, we just had a couple, just a question on
yeah, sure, go ahead.
If those costs were per year or for just the term?
It would be per year for living on or off campus. For living at home, it would be for this, it looked like it would be for the one term. So it would just be a little bit higher than that if it were, if they were living at home, or I mean for the academic year, sorry. But not much higher. Is there any other questions or?
No, go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. And then satisfactory academic progress. So we do have satisfactory academic progress policies. So the student has to maintain a 2.0 GPA. They have to maintain PACE, which is units attempted versus units completed. So they have to be at least 67%. So maximum time frame is 150% attempted units. So you're getting basically an extra term. If for any reason you have to repeat a class or you changed your major and it took you a little bit longer than the typical bachelor's degree is about 120 units, but you have up to 180 units that you can take without losing financially. And then our policies are going to be on the link below. I apologize again, I just realized that it didn't update to the full academic year. I think it must have been just the housing that was not included that made it a little bit more, because there's this really like, it goes up to about like 16,000, I believe, or a little under for a student living at home. And I'll make sure to update that.
Ma'am?
Yeah, oh yeah, go ahead. I lost you, I can't hear you. It's breaking up.
If maybe we can just keep all questions till the end in the chat, and then we'll address questions that way.
Okay, sounds good. I'm sorry. We'll go to the next slide then. So Title IV funds is just another way of saying federal loans or federal aid like Pell Grant. So return of Title IV funds. So this is just explaining, regardless of whatever reason the student stops attending, their aid could be reduced or canceled and returned to the Department of Education. So this can result in a balance to Cal State San Marcos. The Department of Education requires us to report to them their very last day that they participated in class. So once we know that information, we have to plug that into the Department of Ed's website, and they do their calculation for us, and it tells us how much aid they can keep depending on how much time they completed in school if they drop before the term ends. So planning for the future. So we want to determine what our educational costs are going to be. Make sure we're applying for financial aid as close to October 1st as possible. Apply for scholarships as soon as they're open. So ours is already open, and you can always start applying for outside scholarships. Avoid using credit cards if possible. And then just basically make sure you're budgeting your spending on what you're looking at as far as once your financial aid package is available and you see what your tuition and fees are going to be for that term, and then what your refund is going to be, and then you can allocate all the other refund amount towards other costs that you know you're going to be spending. this is our contact information. So this is our office phone number. And then if you have like any like really personal in-depth questions that you don't feel comfortable asking on chat, you can either call us and one of our customer service financial aid advisors can help answer your questions. You can also email FinAid at csusm.edu. And then our financial aid website, if you want to look up information based on like scholarships, deadlines, things like that, it's csusm.edu/FinAid. And then sometimes people have questions for student financial services. They are the ones who post charges, and they take care of debits, refunds, and credits. So if you had like questions regarding that type of thing, or some people even do like a payment plan before the year begins. The payment plans usually start, I think, in like June, and then they have to be paid in full, I believe, by the first day of school. So if you have questions kind of regarding that type of stuff, that would also be, you can email the Student Financial Services website, or go to their website and get their contact information and call them as well. I know that was pretty much it. Thanks for letting me go through financial aid, and I'm ready for questions.
Denise, thank you for the presentation. I'll start asking you questions from the chat. What is the difference between the FAFSA and the DREAM Act, and should they apply to both?
So the FAFSA applies to U.S. citizens and then an eligible non-citizen, and then the DREAM application is for non-eligible citizens. They would be using that website to apply for financial aid that way.
And can the DREAM Act be used for any college, or is it only in a certain area?
So it's California, so any California college, because it's all funded through the California Student Aid Commission.
Perfect. Does the information that we've discussed in the presentation, is it general information and applies to other colleges as well?
So the information that I shared, it mostly applies to Cal State San Marcos as far as like the general scholarship application that would be specific to CSUSM. FAFSA applies to any college that you apply to within the United States. Cal Grant is eligible for all California high school graduates. And so that would be applicable to any college. The tuition and fees portion that I went over, that's specific to Cal State San Marcos. So other colleges may have different fees depending on what school they apply to. Like obviously, like UCs are gonna have a higher tuition and fee rate than a Cal State or a junior college would. So charges would be different as far as that's concerned. And then housing, it just depends. Like it's probably going to be more expensive at a UC campus to live on campus. And it might be different throughout the CSU system on how much they charge to live on campus as well. So those are things that could vary.
Okay. What's the IRS link in the FAFSA form?
So when you're in the FAFSA application, once you get to where they're asking you for income information, it's going to have ask you if you would like to use the IRS data retrieval tool or not. And so you can decide if you want to click on that, and then you just type in your name, address, you ask for your birth date, and then it says transfer now, and then it transfers your information directly from the IRS into the FAFSA application for you. So you don't have to go and look at your tax return and go through each line and try to figure out because on the FAFSA, it's going to say adjusted gross income, look at line 7, or taxes paid, look at line 13. So you won't have to go through it yourself and figure it out. The IRS does it for you.
Okay, that sounds really helpful. There was a question for us, will we be getting a copy of this presentation? And yes, we will send one out through your students' Canvas page. So be on the lookout for that in the next few days. And then is the October 1st date for juniors? Should they be applying now? No, you want to wait until your senior year when you're applying for colleges. And October 1st is when the FAFSA opens. And then Denise, do you want to touch on when they have until to fill out the FAFSA?
So it's open from October 1st until June 30th. You definitely never want to wait that late to complete the application, because then you might miss out on grants and scholarships that have budgets. So the sooner you complete it, the more likely you are, if you're eligible, to receive those other types of grants and scholarships.
Okay.
And for sure before March 2nd, if you're going to be going to a California institution, so that you can be eligible for the Cal Grant.
Okay, perfect. So that kind of leads into this next question. Where do you apply for all of the loans and grants?
So the great thing about that is you're only going to be completing either the FAFSA application if you're a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen, and the CAUTA application if you're a non-eligible citizen. So once you've submitted those applications, that's basically where the state and the federal government pull in all that information and send that to the school, and that lets us know what you're eligible for.
Okay, so they typically find out when they're eligible for aid when the colleges email them?
Once we receive them. So if our college isn't listed on their FAFSA application, because it's going to ask you to enter a school code, and I believe you can add up to 10 colleges on your applications. So only those colleges are going to receive your financial aid information, and that's the only way that we know that you've applied, and we would be creating your entire financial aid package based on what the government and state tell us.
Okay, perfect. And then I have another question. To figure out if you're eligible for an application fee waiver, do you input your current financial situation? If it's been impacted by COVID, do we still input our financial information from 2019?
So this would be considered a professional judgment, or some schools call it a change of circumstance. So if your information for 2019 is higher, you're still going to want to put in your information for 2019. And then what you would do is contact whatever institution that you're going to be attending and let them know that you've had a change of circumstance. And we'll give you the process on how to submit a professional judgment or change of circumstance. And then we'll review all of that and see what we are able to do as far as trying to help you get a better financial aid package. So once we submit that changed information to the Department of Ed, they'll send us back an approved student aid report, and they'll show us with the adjustments what you're now eligible for. So for a lot of students, that could make them have a full package, like, you know, the max you can receive in your federal Pell Grant, the max you can receive in, you know, scholarship aid, that type of thing. So if you do have that circumstance, which I know we have a lot of those types of requests coming in right now for the students who are enrolled for 2021. So we definitely understand and are, you know, we're very heartbroken for a lot of families that have had to go through this situation right now and have these huge changes, but we are working really hard to make sure that your students are getting the best financial aid package in spite of the circumstances, so that they're able to go to school without having to be worried about how they're going to fund their education. So we will do our best to help you.
Thank you so much. Do you have to apply for financial aid application per year or one application for all 4 years?
So it's every academic year you'll have to do a new application. So just make sure every October 1st is when you'll be completing a new FAFSA.
Okay, great. Sorry, Denise, I think I cut you off.
Oh, no, I just said you'll just want to make sure that you're completing your FAFSA or CAUTA applications starting on October 1st.
Okay. And then there was a question about how do you find scholarships from RB and Poway's side. We have our scholarship list for local scholarships, and that can be found on our school websites under either the Bronco Center or the Titan Center. And then also for national level scholarships, we have fastweb.com is a great one. iGrad is another one. I believe there's scholarships.com. And then from CSU San Marcos, Denise, do you have an answer to that question?
Yeah, so students who will be applying for Cal State San Marcos, if you go on our website page, it's csusm.edu/finaid. And then on the left-hand column, there'll be a bunch of hyperlinks, and you'll just click on the one that says scholarships. And the first one that populates up will be the CSUSM scholarship application. And you can just click on the link and just follow instructions from there to complete the application. It was open October 1st and it doesn't close until February 1st.
Okay, and that would be the same for other colleges. You can go on their website and see what scholarships apply directly to the college that you're interested in applying to. And then also for merit scholarships, that's based on your GPA. So when you fill out the application for that college, you would then also be able to possibly get merit scholarships. Let me see.
Mrs. Brown, I actually have a question regarding what you just said.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So you said that based upon the GPA, merit scholarships will be awarded. Will that application process be separate, or is that all covered in that FAFSA application?
So generally speaking, that's all covered under the application when you apply to the college.
Okay.
So when you fill out your FAFSA or your DREAM Act application, that is money that's coming from the state or the federal government. When you fill out your college application, the merit scholarships are coming directly from private funds that are directly related to that college.
Okay, but usually they use the FAFSA application to award that? I guess that's the question.
So for merit scholarships, it's based on your grades.
Right.
And that would be from your college application, either by completing the Common App or the UC application.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then I will have 2 kids in college. Do I fill out 2 different FAFSA applications? Anything I should know?
Yes, you definitely have to fill out 2 FAFSA applications because one application for each student. I mean, you would just basically be putting in, I don't know, most of the students who are just coming out of high school usually don't work, but if they did, then they would put in whatever wages they earned for that. So for the 21-22 application, it's going to be asking for your 2020 tax information. So if they didn't earn enough to have to file taxes, but they have W-2s, then that student would just enter the wages from their W-2s for that academic year and just say will not file. And then it'll be the same information for parent. So when it asks for parent income information, you can either use the IRS data retrieval tool or you can manually enter that information. Other than that, they're pretty much going to be the same. The only thing that would be different is if the students worked or not, and then their income information would be different from each other.
Okay. And then I believe when you go to create your FSA ID, the parent will not have to create another FSA ID. You can use
That's true.
the same one for both your children. So when you were talking about the scholarships, Denise, do those apply for sports scholarships as well?
They do. So the general scholarship application they have hundreds of donors. So it's anything from merit scholarships to like program specific, like say if they're going for nursing, to sports scholarships. It's everything all in one.
Okay, cool. And then if we apply for scholarships to a school, even if you're not sure the child will be attending that school?
You can still, even if you're not sure, you can still apply.
Okay. A recording will be posted? Yes. And we'll send that out to everyone. Do you have to use free financial services in order to get financial aid? No, you would just, the FAFSA is a free application for federal student aid, so it doesn't cost any money. And then if you are asking for a fee to fill out the FAFSA application, then it's a scam and don't pay anything. Do you have to fill out the FAFSA application in order to receive scholarships?
Not for scholarships, but for federal aid and state aid, you definitely need to complete the FAFSA application.
Okay. Like generally speaking, how much money do the scholarships give you? And is it every year that they have to apply to scholarships?
It's every academic year, just like the FAFSA. So you kind of want to think about, when I fill out my FAFSA or my Cotter application, I want to fill out the scholarship one as well at the same time.
Okay, perfect. It's kind of like a part-time job for scholarships. You know, you kind of want to just get in the habit of checking on a regular basis for opportunities that are out there. So there's a question about clarifying the living expenses from your presentation. They're wondering, the first question is, in the living with family was 5,000. Would they be charged if they're living with family?
No, it's just basically giving like a budget of what they could potentially spend if they were living with family, because some families decide that they're going to be trying to teach children, you know, how to be financially responsible. So they'll charge them like a monthly rent if they're working. If the family is not going to be charging their student for living at home, then of course that would be zero. But we just put it in there just because some families do.
Okay. And then someone's asking if you could just elaborate a little bit more on the difference between a Cal Grant and a Pell Grant.
So the Pell Grant is a federally funded grant, and a Cal Grant is through the California Student Aid Commission. The Cal Grant is, there's a couple of different types of Cal Grants. So there's Cal Grant A, and that's for students who have a GPA of 3.0 and above. And that covers just tuition. It's usually, you'll see that if your income is higher. If your income is a little bit lower, you'll usually see Cal Grant B if you're eligible. That allows the student to receive the tuition paid as well as what they call Cal Grant B access. And it just gives the student an extra $828 a semester to help pay for any additional expenses. That for Cal Grant B, it's also has a GPA requirement of, I believe it's 2.0 or 2.5.
Okay. What is an EFC number for FAFSA?
It's expected family contribution. So that doesn't mean that you're actually going to be putting that amount towards your student's education. It's just what the government thinks that your family, based on the information that was reported on the FAFSA, it's what they think you could potentially contribute to your student's education, but that doesn't mean that's what you're actually spending. So it's not really a charge. It's just what they think that you could contribute.
Okay. And is there an IRS transfer button for both the student and the parent?
There is, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. My daughter is a senior but doesn't graduate until June. Do I still apply?
So yes, because if she's going to be starting college in fall of 2021, then she would apply now.
And what is a non-eligible citizen?
So if you're not an eligible citizen, that just means that you don't have a social security number. And you'll see students who have been given like a DACA number that would be using the DREAM Act application. So that helps them get funding through the California state to pay for college expenses.
Okay. And what if a student is applying to more than 10 colleges on the FAFSA? What do they do?
So they only allow you to put, I believe, 10 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably just maybe look at all those and see, maybe weed out some that you're kind of like, maybe not, and just put the ones that you're 100% sure that you're interested in. You can always like add and subtract colleges. At any time, you can make adjustments, go in and make corrections to your FAFSA. Just try not to make too many, because once there's too many transactions, then it starts like throwing up flags to the federal government, because they don't like to see up to like 10 new transactions made.
Oh, okay. So try not to make more than 10 changes to your FAFSA. Okay.
I definitely try to keep it below that, but you can always go in there and make an adjustment if you want to change a school out.
Okay. And a student can qualify for a Pell Grant, a Cal Grant, and a scholarship all at the same time?
Yes, you definitely can.
Okay. And then you already answered this, but to go back, if your financial situation changes, then you would contact the college and you would let them know. And Denise had said that there's a change of circumstances form that you can fill out and report to the college's financial aid department.
Yeah, just let us know and we can add it to the to-do list. So that gives you access to the link that you would upload all your information on, and then we would make the adjustments for you and send them to the Department of Ed for evaluation and approval. And then once we get that student report back, we can repackage the student with whatever they're eligible for with the new information.
Yes. And if you don't know where you're going to be applying for college, put where you would like to go the most. And then like Denise said, you can always go in and change it at a later date. And then I'll type in the scholarship websites down in the chat below for you guys to know. Can you bring up the free scholarships? Can you, oh, Denise, someone wants to see the free scholarship slide from your presentation.
Oh yeah, let me go. Oops. This one, or the free scholarship services, or the general scholarship one?
Oh, let's put both. Those are both good slides.
This is specific to Cal State San Marcos. General scholarship application. The dates that it's open is October 1st through February 1st.
And was there a link for your your general scholarship?
Yes, at the very, oops, too far, the very end, our website, the csusm.edu/finaid.
Okay.
If they go to our website, there's going to be, like I said, hyperlinks on the left-hand column, and it'll say scholarships as one of them. And then once you click on that, it brings up all our scholarships.
Okay, perfect. And then would you mind going back to that slide that had all of the national scholarship websites?
No problem. So these are all the free scholarship services that we know are legitimate services that your students can apply to. And I think you said too, the scholarships.com is also a good one as well.
Yes, for sure. So I mentioned that one parent will use their FSA ID for 2 children. Is the parent applying or is the student applying for the FAFSA?
The student is, but the Department of Education sees the student as being dependent, which is why they ask for parent information. So you're signing it, just basically saying that I acknowledge that the information I reported is correct, but it's actually under the student.
Okay, perfect. It's basically their electronic signature.
Yeah.
Someone would like more information on the middle class scholarship.
So the middle class scholarship is also through the California Student Aid Commission. And it's basically for families who earn up to 150,000. It doesn't cover as much tuition as the Cal Grant A and B scholarships, but it does offer some tuition based scholarship award. So for example, so let's say a student is enrolled in at least 12 units, which is full time. I've been seeing those students awarded $1,148 a term. So those amounts would go towards their tuition. It's a tuition-based scholarship.
Okay, cool. We have a couple military questions.
Sure.
What resources are available for financial aid for military families?
So basically, for military families, if they're going to be transferring benefits over to their student, like some students are receiving Chapter 33 benefits that have been transferred to their student. They would go through our VA office. They can also contact Student Financial Services, which is one of the web links that I left there before, and they can hook them up with the right person that they can talk to, because they'd have to submit paperwork for them to process it. For like the CalVet fee waiver options, we would just need the approval letter, and that also goes to the Student Financial Aid Services, and they post that award for the student.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps at all.
If someone is going to be joining the military, do they still need to fill out the FAFSA?
Yeah, so they would still need to do an application. A lot of students who are going into the service or active duty, it does ask them on the FAFSA application, are you active duty or I think it says retired veteran or something like that. I forget how they word it exactly, but it does ask them those questions.
Okay. And then the EFC, is that for a term or is that for the whole year?
For the year.
Okay, great. So do students have to wait to apply to scholarships until they get accepted from the college, or can they apply to scholarships before they get accepted?
They can apply before, and I always highly suggest that so that they know more of what they might be eligible for. That way they can make a better decision based on what their budget looks like.
And Coach Jamal put a bunch of free scholarship sites on here. So everyone copy and paste this because this is all really good information. To apply for free scholarship services or... so it looks like we've reached the end of our list, Denise.
All right.
So thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. And thank you, Denise, for your presentation and all of your answers.
I have one thing to jump in on, Jamie, if you're good. Someone asked about it doesn't allow them to copy and paste the links that I put there. If you are, two things. If you are a Poway High School student, I will make sure that Mrs. Brown has all the ones that I have. She probably already does. And she can send that to you guys through your Canvas. For the RB students, these are already posted on our financial aid website. And you can always check in with me to get them. You can email me, but we will have them. If you can't copy and paste them, we'll make sure you get them.
Denise, we had another question about if families have two different households. I just saw that. How do they report? If kids have two different households, how is income calculated?
So it kind of depends. The FAFSA application, it asks where the student is living more than 51% of the time. So whichever parent they're with 51% or more is who they'll list on the FAFSA application. I don't know if they're asking if like parents are no longer together, if they're separated or divorced. I'm not sure if that's what they mean.
If they were separated, what would you do?
So if parents are separated, it's the parent that's supporting the student at least 51% or more, or if they're divorced, it would be whatever parent is supporting them over 51% or more as well. If parents are married and filing jointly, then it's going to be both parent information on the FAFSA.
So does it have to do with being who the child is on their taxes or where they're living? Okay.
Because basically it goes based on who they're living with and who's supporting them 51% or more is who the Department of Ed wants to be listed on the FAFSA.
Okay. So hopefully that answers your questions, you guys. Let us know in the chat.
If it doesn't, and even if you're not planning to attend CSUSM, our contact information is on the last slide, and we really are willing to help answer any of your questions that you might have. So please just, you can call us or email us and we'll walk you through whatever questions that you have and help you get them answered so that you know you're doing everything correctly.
Okay, last call for any questions and we'll wrap up. Is CSU San Marcos Division I?
For sports? Sorry, Chelsea?
I believe that's what they're asking, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for sports.
Not yet. We're Division II right now, but we're working on moving up.
And then does CSU San Marcos have a yellow ribbon program?
I don't believe so. That was, the yellow ribbon is part of Chapter 33.
Okay. And if they want to apply for Pell Grant, where would they go for that information?
So when they complete the FAFSA application, that's part of what they're applying towards, is seeing what they're eligible for in federal grant aid as well as federal student loans. But I'm not 100% sure on the yellow ribbon program. They would want to contact our vet office for that information because they're the ones who would process the VA type tuition based and what is it called? Totally went blank, I'm sorry. And fees, because I know normally Chapter 33 will cover everything, like tuition fees, housing, they cover a lot. But
Okay.
the VA would know more. Because they do actually process everything, all the paperwork, and then they send that over to Student Financial Services to post to their account. So contacting Student Financial Services would be a great route to start because they can guide you to exactly who you need to talk to. And their information was on our last slide as well.
Are first-time freshmen at CSU San Marcos required to live on campus?
It depends on if they live outside of the area, the local area, which I think is, they consider if you live out 30 miles or more is when they require you to live on campus for your first year. You can petition to appeal that with housing. So it's not 100%, but they do ask students who live outside of the service area to live on campus in their first year.
And that same rule applies to San Diego State as well. So if you are applying to any of the local CSUs, I would contact them to check where the boundary is and where you fall for your home address. And then there's another question for someone's working on their FAFSA and they're asking, where does the ScholarShare account fit in?
That would be, I think it's under investments. Do you mean like a 529 or?
Yes.
Okay.
That would go under investments.
Thank you.
It was from a grandparent, they're saying. So still the same answer.
Yeah, so if a grandparent has like a college savings account for them, like a 529 college savings account, that it would go under, they're receiving that under investments.
Okay, thank you for that information.
You're welcome.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for attending. I hope this was helpful for you. You know, we're always here and available to help you. If we don't have the answer, you know, we'll contact someone or we'll put you in contact with someone that will. The financial aid departments at the colleges are always such a great resource and always willing to help you, like Denise is. So please do not hesitate to reach out to them for any of your individual questions when you're completing the FAFSA or the DREAM Act application.
Oh, you know, wait, sorry, one more second. I was reading under investments, and then I also saw they have another precursor. So it says money received or paid on your behalf also includes distributions to you, the student beneficiary, from a 529 plan that is owned by someone other than your parents, such as your grandparents, aunts, uncles, and custodial parents. So that is included in distribution amounts in question 44I. So money received or paid on your behalf. So that's where it would go if it was from your grandparents. If it was from your parents, then it would go under investments. Sorry, just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, so parents under investments.
And then any other person like grandparents, non-custodial parents, aunts, uncles, would go under money received or paid on your behalf. And that's under question 44I.
Okay, awesome.
Perfect. Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for attending. And as Jamie said, if you have any further questions, please either reach out to us or to the specific colleges at their financial aid department.
Okay.
All
All right,
right.
thank you, everybody.
Bye,
Have a great
everyone.
evening.